Well, hello. Today I'm going to be doing something a little different. I'm going to be doing an album review, Master of Puppets by Metallica. I have the shirt as well. I have a lot of Metallica memorabilia. Um, well, this is their third album, released March 3rd, 1986. It was recorded in the fall of '85, actually. So, and you can actually see on YouTube the first known live recording or performance of Disposable Heroes, the fifth track on YouTube in, I think, the summer of '85. I believe they were still touring for Ride the Lightning. Um, this was recorded in Copenhagen, Denmark, at Sweet Silence Studios. Denmark is the southernmost Nordic country. It's north of Germany and the Netherlands. It's where drummer Lars Ulrich was from. So I read on Wikipedia that they said they didn't like the sound acoustics for recording in the States, so they flew to Denmark and recorded there for a better sound. It was released through Elektra Records, this is their first album with Elektra, and producer Flemming Rasmussen. Um, I've had this CD copy of Metallica, Master of Puppets, for probably 3 or 4 years. It's been a while. I think at least 4 years, actually. Again, the classic lineup of James Hetfield, rhythm guitar and vocals, Lars Ulrich, drums and percussion, Kirk Hammett, lead guitar, and Cliff Burton, bass guitar and some backing vocals. Um, a lot of people will play the music of the band or the album they're reviewing, but I don't really do that for two reasons. Number one, I want people to want to go listen to it on their own, to be intrigued and then go, search out the music on their own. And two, a lot of people who would probably watch this video probably are already very familiar with the band, with the album, and have heard all the songs 100 times as I have. And, the people who would watch this video probably know as much or more about Metallica as I do. So what's the point, really, of playing music? Let's get into the track listing. Well, the first song is Battery, which, like Ride the Lightning, with what's the first? Fight Fire with Fire. I had a blank there. It starts off with an acoustic intro, sort of a tranquil setting up of the mood before, the heavy riffs and drums come in. It is about there's two speculations about what the song's about. One is assault and battery, like sort of a violent altercation. And the second theory is sort of a military battery, like a parade of military tanks, or battery in the military sense. The theme of the album does have some sort of military. I don't know if you would say. You can see the little kind of World War II style hard hat. Not really not really sympathizing with the military per se, but some of the songs do kind of touch on that. The overall theme of the album is sort of like manipulation and control. You can see the kind of the ominous hands holding the puppet strings, ties in with the title, tied to the crosses in the sort of military graveyard, cemetery. And you can even see the little dog tags, dog keys hanging on one of the crosses. This album was a huge success for Metallica. Arguably one of the best produced albums by them. Released not even 3 years after Kill 'Em All. It's crazy to think about how far they'd come in their songwriting. The second track, Master of Puppets, the title track, 8 minutes and 38 seconds. It's a long song, one of their more well-known. Really one of their songs that kind of brought them from the underground metal scene to the mainstream metal scene. Starts out very quick, with the trademark riff and the drums. The breakdown about halfway through, with the sort of chanting of Master, Master. Then the two solos. James and Kirk both traded off solos in this song. And then it gets back to sort of the more heavy verse, chorus, main riff before ending in the kind of sinister laughter of like control or manipulation of what the song is about, which is sort of cocaine addiction. The song kind of puts a voice to the drug itself. A lot of bands before it would make songs about drugs, like Black Sabbath, for example. A lot of their songs are about drugs, but that was always sort of Ozzy saying, don't do it. These drugs will ruin you, or I love it. In the case of like Snowblind or Sweet Leaf by Black Sabbath, two songs about drugs. But this Master of Puppets, the song, is definitely influenced by that. But it sort of gave a voice to the drug itself, which is kind of their take on it and how they changed up that sort of old theme that had been in a lot of bands prior to this. And I read that this was Master of Puppets, the song, was Cliff Burton's personal favorite song. The third track is The Thing That Should Not Be, which is another H.P. Lovecraft themed song. Cliff Burton was a huge H.P. Lovecraft fan. It's based on a short story called The Shadow Over something like that, Innsmouth. And it's also, I think, about Cthulhu, or sort of an ominous monster creature. I mean, you can read some of the lyrics, and they're very dark and sinister. This is probably the heaviest song on the record, albeit one of the slower ones. You can see in the booklet it has all the lyrics, which is good. I hate it when I get an album and the lyrics are not in the booklet. It's a little picture on the back of the band, some playing live, and then nice picture. The Thing That Should Not Be, 6 minutes, 32 seconds. Sort of very hard to decipher, sort of ominous, sinister lyrics about some sort of creature that I guess he's so horrible he should not be, is what I've kind of read about the song, people's kind of take on it. And the fourth track is Welcome Home Sanitarium, which is based off of the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest story, I guess. Also, a movie of the same name starring Jack Nicholson was released about 11 years prior to this, which I've seen, and I have. I like that movie. And it's sort of a, song about people who are held in insane asylums against their will, and they're not even crazy. Sort of what the movie and the book One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is about. People sort of like kind of that age-old theme of the ones holding the crazy people are really the crazy people. Their lust for control and manipulation and stuff like that, I guess, which is a theme you'll see again and again in the album and in the next song, which is Disposable Heroes. One of my favorite on the record. It's a fast, long song, almost as long as Master of Puppets. And it sort of also follows that theme of control and manipulation, though in this sense, sort of militarily. Even the lyrics say a soldier boy sort of forced out to the front lines at the age of 21 by the powers that be or government, or basically the unjust suffering of soldiers. Doesn't give a specific war or anything like that, or a specific battle, but sort of the unjust suffering of a young soldier at the hands of maybe greedy governments or politics. Very interesting scenarios and themes in the song. Great riffs. It's fast. It's heavy. Writing credits to Hetfield, Ulrich, and Hammett. Burton didn't have any songwriting credits in this one, but again, one of my personal favorites on the record, Disposable Heroes, the 5th track. The 6th track, again, following that same theme of control and manipulation, though here, sort of religion, hence the title, Leopard Messiah. This song is sort of targeted at televangelists who at the time had become very prominent in TV, like maybe your Jim Jones or your sort of other infamous TV preacher, sort of wolf in sheep's clothing kind of people. And that's what this song is kind of targeting its venom at, so to speak. Another great song, another great riff. I mean, just fat, heavy, crunchy rhythm guitar riffs from Hetfield. It's just so great. And the lyrics are very very good. Time for lust, time for lie, time to kiss your life goodbye. Send me money, send me green, heaven you will meet. Make a contribution and you'll get the better seat. Bow to Leopard Messiah. Sort of, witchery weakening, see the sheep are gathering, see the trap hypnotize, sort of like this sort of wolf in sheep's clothing preacher or televangelist, who kind of dupes people into his maybe false prophet teachings for money's sake. Maybe like to call this number on the screen on the bottom or whatever, or donate to my cause. Very good song. Very thoughtful lyrics. I mean, I don't see this song as an attack on religion at all. I see it more as an attack on manipulators and people who control at the expense of others. So I don't see this song as an attack on Christianity at all. If it was, I wouldn't like it. But it's more of a personal attack on the person rather than, say, religion or Christianity. Which, again, if it was that, I wouldn't like it that much because I am a religious person. The next track, the 7th track, is called Orion, which is an instrumental. It is 8 minutes and 12 seconds, credited to Hetfield, Ulrich, and Burton. Many consider this Cliff Burton's sort of swan song, as he would go on to pass away the fall after this was released on their Master of Puppets tour in I believe, Sweden or Norway, one of the two countries. He died in a bus accident after this. I might talk more about that in the next album review of Metallica, and Justice for All. Another great album. Um, this song is sort of centered around sort of a bass riff that Cliff sort of came up with. It's actually some of the arrangements I read were sort of based off of Bach. Uh, I believe "Come Sweet Death" from Bach. I don't know much Bach. I don't listen to much classical, but again, Cliff Burton did have that classical training, and he did like classical music and music of all sorts, and he sort of introduced the band to musical arrangements and harmonies and helped. He's the main force behind them sort of exploring other themes, music styles, maybe slowing down a little bit, and maybe more of that epic progressive style that this album definitely exemplifies. About halfway through, you get the little bass notes and the little bass solo, sort of a breakdown, very nice, very moody. And then you go into the sort of guitar harmonies of Hetfield and Hammett about 2/3 through the song, and the dueling guitar harmonies. It's very beautiful. It's very majestic. At the time in 1986, for a thrash metal album to release music this beautiful, this majestic, this progressive was very groundbreaking at the time. And I believe this song really does stand the test of time very well. And then you get even a bass solo from Cliff after the two guitar solo harmonies. And it's a beautiful song, Orion. It's been covered multiple times by other artists. And the last track, Damage Incorporated, edited to Hetfield, Ulrich, Burton, and Hammett. And by the way, this is the first Metallica album with no songwriting credits to Dave Mustaine, who, as you know, left the band or was fired from the band before Kill 'Em All was released and went on to form Megadeth. This is a very similar to Battery, which starts the album. These are sort of the two bookend tracks that are both very fast, very heavy, very thrashy. This is a very thrashy song. Again, sort of the venom sort of targeted at an unknown object. We don't know exactly what the aggression is targeted towards, but it's sort of, based on what I can tell from the lyrics, sort of like maybe a personal struggle, maybe like the damage inside, sort of the pressure to conform, maybe. Very, very, very venomous lyrics. Very good. You can see it right there. Damage Incorporated. Again, another song I love. Fat, heavy, crunchy guitar riffs. Very fast, very aggressive. The vocals are on point. 5 minutes and 8 seconds. And the beginning of Damage Incorporated also has a little bit of bass notes from Cliff to sort of start out the mood of the song, and then it comes, grr, 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 it comes in real quick after that and fast. A lot of their songs do that. They'll sort of pull you in with a sort of tranquil, clean guitar or acoustic guitar note, or a bass riff, or some bass guitar notes, and then sort of, bam, they bring the kitchen sink and surprise you. Let me go get 2 books actually that I've read about Metallica, sort of where I've got a lot of my knowledge about them. Let me go grab those real quick. Okay, this book I've read, To Live Is to Die, The Life and Death of Metallica's Cliff Burton by Joel McClever, forward by Kirk Hammett, afterward by Frank Bello of Anthrax. I've read this, and it's a great book. I mean, great pictures in there. There's the band with John Zazula. I mean, Cliff with his girlfriend, other great pictures. It's a great read if you love Metallica. There's a great photo of him. And there's the band right there. This book just is his life from birth to when he died at the age of 24 in 1986 after Master of Puppets was released. Great read. I got a lot of my knowledge of Metallica and Cliff from this book. Again, pretty thick, sort of a Metallica nerd's, dream to read a book like this. 300 pages. Great read. Great read. Also, this book, Metallica, sort of the stories behind their biggest songs, actually all their songs, by Chris Ingham. You got a breakdown of all their songs in there, from Hit the Lights to the last song on Death Magnetic. It doesn't have their most recent release, Hardwired to Self-Destruct, on here, but this is a great read. I mean, for information about the band, I've read it twice. Again, just little snippets and information and sort of a breakdown of every song they released, save their most recent album. Really, you can learn a lot about the band from this book. I love it. I've learned a lot of my knowledge from the band from this book. Great read. Recommend if you love Metallica. It's just entitled Metallica, The Stories Behind the Biggest Songs. So that's where I get a lot of my knowledge of Metallica. I was not born when Master of Puppets came out. I'm 27, so it was released 34 years ago. So obviously I wasn't born. And I've had people sort of insinuate to me that because I wasn't born yet, or I didn't grow up with this kind of music, that I'm not qualified to speak on it. But I disagree very strongly, because we have the internet, we have YouTube, we have technology. That's like saying because you didn't live through World War II or weren't born yet, or the Civil War, you can't go study those wars as a history major or lover. And that's just ridiculous. So just because you didn't grow up or were not born yet when some of your favorite bands release some of their best albums does not mean you're not qualified to speak about the band or the music or the albums. I do not like that thinking. Again, I've had people sort of have that attitude towards me and others. Nothing too crazy, but I don't like that style of thinking. You can like anything you want, even if you weren't born yet. I mean, they released Load when I was 3, so most of their best work came long before I was born, but that doesn't mean I can't study it. And the beauty of technology and the internet is we can study and learn about things that didn't happen in our lifetime. So don't let people make you feel like you weren't qualified to speak on something just because you weren't born yet. But if you haven't read about it and researched and learned, then yeah, don't speak about it. Like, I don't know much about World War II, for example, so I would never speak much about it. I wasn't born yet, but I wouldn't speak about it because I haven't studied about it. Metallica, I have. I mean, I've read books. I've watched multiple documentaries on YouTube about them. So, and I've always said that I was born 20 years too late, because all my favorite bands and songs, 70s, 80s, late 60s, early 90s, I don't like any of the music that my peers listen to. The majority of my peers, the top 50 music 2020, it's all garbage. It's all horrible. I hate it. I like 70s rock. That's like my favorite genre of music. Long before I was born. Again, you don't have to live through something to learn about it, research about it, and love it. So don't let people make you feel that way as a young person or a younger person. Yeah, all right. Rant over. Back to Master of Puppets. Again, this album was the album that really helped them break into the mainstream of heavy metal. I mean, they toured with Ozzy, a supporting act for Ozzy, and I've heard many people say that Metallica blew Ozzy off the stage. He outshone them. But again, they got along really well on the 1986 tour. I would love to have seen them play live at that time, but again, I wasn't born, so what can you do? High quality H2O. What would I give this water? 99 out of 100. Sort of a summary of the album. I've already gone through all the songs. Definitely more progressive. And I forgot to mention Damage Incorporated. I read that Kirk Hammett said the riff was inspired by the band Deep Purple, which I also love, which is interesting. I need to listen to it again to see if I detect any Deep Purple in there. Overall, a very progressive thrash metal album. Very groundbreaking in the genre for having sort of an instrumental, an acoustic. Again, very similar track listing to Ride the Lightning. The fourth track is always a ballad with Metallica albums, and there's always, most of the time, there's an instrumental in their albums, except for a few, but very similar. They follow the same sort of, the second track is always the title track, generally, not always, but I mean, again, overall progressive. The production is great. A lot of very virtuosic guitar harmonies and solos. Kirk Hammett played well on this album. Some people criticize Lars Ulrich's drumming. I think it's fine here. It's just a classic in the genre of thrash metal and metal in general. Again, sort of the album that helped them get from underground scenes to the mainstream. And they, instead of releasing a video for this album, they just went on an expensive summer-long tour in '86 that again ended with tragedy that fall, with Cliff Burton dying at the age of 24. In a bus accident. Basically what happened was the bus slid on some ice on the road. They were driving at like 4 a.m, and the bus swerved and flipped over, and Cliff was thrown from the bus, and the bus partially landed on him, I believe, is how he died. And interesting thing to note, it could have been Kirk Hammett who died, because before they went to bed that night in the tour bus, Cliff and Kirk played cards. And they played the cards to see who would get to sleep in the back bunk or the top bunk. I can't remember which. And Kirk was going to sleep where Cliff was going to sleep, but Cliff won the card game, so he said, "I want your bunk." So they switched, and Cliff went to where Kirk was going to sleep, and so he was the one that was killed. Just think, it could have been Kirk that had been killed. It's one of those crazy what ifs, surrounding someone passing away, and it's crazy to think about. But his legacy lives on. People love the music. Arguably, the first 3 albums are many fans' favorite 3. And I see why. I love the albums that came after, and that could be controversial, but these first 3, they are special. They are special, and they could very well be considered their 3 finest gems in their catalog. Their almost 40-year catalog. 37 years since Kill 'Em All was released. 39 years since they've been a band. So 2021 is their 40th anniversary as a band. Wow. Again, yeah, Master of Puppets. What would I give it as a rating? Oh, I don't remember what I scored Kill 'Em All and Ride the Lightning, but I would give Master of Puppets, we'll do out of 100. You can be more specific than like 0 to 10. I would give Master of Puppets a 98 out of 100. 99. We'll go 99. It's not 100, but it's so close. Could be one of my favorite album by them. Depends on the day. Ask me a month from now and it might change. I might prefer Ride the Lightning. That might be my favorite Metallica album. Maybe. But again, I've said before, this is my favorite. Master of Puppets is often considered their best song or their finest work. And I can see why. Again, I used to think this was my favorite, but it just depends on the day. It really does. Which album is my favorite? It just really depends when you ask me. But 99 out of 100 for Master of Puppets by Metallica, a classic in the genre. If you haven't listened to it and you love heavy metal, which is highly unlikely, most people who love rock and metal have heard this 100 times. But yeah, great album. 99 out of 100. Thank you for watching this very long 31-minute video. Thank you.